Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 9 of the True Talks podcast. I do have the right mic, right? Yes, I think I do. Okay. I forgot to test that beforehand. But yeah, today, again, reminders before we start. Sorry, I just got done watching football, so I'm a little out of it. It's a Sunday. A couple reminders before we start. The video footage on the screen, if you're watching on YouTube, is my own footage that I recorded, just to put that out there. And it has nothing to do with what I'm going to be talking about today. It's just there as a visual if you want something to watch while you listen. Another thing, the age rating of this episode is going to hover around like PG-13, low PG-13, high PG. Just to throw that out there because I'm a teacher, mainly to cover myself. Okay. Today, the current event, I finally started teaching for the first time as a official full-time teacher on my own. I'll talk a little bit about that briefly. The first main topic of today is going to be actually discussing something a little bit different that I haven't talked about much on the podcast yet, but I actually really like cooking, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that. The second topic, I'm going to talk about what has been going on so far with the week 1 of the football season. Obviously, this is going to be like 6 weeks behind, I think. But the second round of afternoon games, like the 3:25 games, are about all at halftime right now. So I don't have a lot of those scores, but I've been seeing things that I want to talk about, and I didn't want to wait until Sunday evening to record this episode, because I know if I did that, it would not get done. The special segment is going to be me discussing what I'm hoping for from a future Nintendo console, and just from the future of Nintendo anyways, since I'm more, for sure, of a Nintendo gamer than anything else. And the final topic is going to be talking about D23 because, well, mainly the theme park. Well, only the theme park portion of D23. It doesn't help that I don't go on Twitter anymore, but I haven't seen any other announcements. I watched the theme park segment, and that was about it. I could, I suppose, go live right now and look up and see if there was any big announcements today. But yeah, that's going to mainly be on the theme park segment. First of all, yeah, I started teaching this last week. It went okay. I don't want to go into specific details because I know a few of the kids already found my YouTube channel, so it's not like I want to talk very specifically. So I'm going to keep it pretty vague on my thoughts on how teaching has went, because I don't know, it feels weird to talk, like, whether I talk bad or talk good about certain things that have happened, it feels weird to have them then watch it later and be like, oh, so this is what he was thinking when that happened. Like, it just feels weird. So I'm going to keep it vague, but I am going to talk about it because I feel like it's important, like real life stuff. So I anticipated it to be stressful, but I could not have prepared for the sheer amount of stuff that would come my way. I thought that I was as prepared as I could possibly be for the first week, and then, like, the first couple days were, like, really, really hard. Like, I made it through them just fine. I put on my game face and got through it, but, like, I was not prepared for there are things that I was not prepared for that I should have been. Like, I feel like just things that I didn't think of when I was preparing all my stuff in my classroom and all of that stuff. Like, for one, passing out music was absolute chaos because I didn't do it in a very efficient manner, and I feel bad about that. But now I know not to do it that way again. I would say that was a big thing that really went poorly. Like, it probably took like 10-15 minutes to pass out all the music because it was just chaos. I figured, okay, it saves me a little bit of time to have everyone find their music during class, come up and sort through it by themselves. But then because I did it that way, there were some people who didn't get all the pages, some people who grabbed the wrong pages, some people who grabbed the wrong instruments. And again, I don't want to name specifics, but yeah, I definitely have to take the reins on that in the future, because it was just an absolute disaster. And then I spent the entire rest of the week trying to figure out who was missing what parts and what pages and whatnot. And yeah, I'm never doing that again. I also, one thing that made it even more chaotic, I didn't know what instruments everyone played. I had a pretty good grasp of high school because I could look at past programs. However, with the younger grades, they didn't have their instruments listed on past programs, so I had no idea who played what instrument until the first day, so I couldn't prepare in advance for how many copies of everything I would need, and I didn't think about the fact that I could actually run out of stuff, so I ended up running out of trumpet parts specifically, I think, because we have a lot of trumpets. And yeah, I don't know. It was a mess. But again, at least, like, it's not like it was a major deal. Like, it's just the first week was extremely chaotic. Like, the start of class was always chaotic because I always had someone coming up to me telling me that they still didn't have the music. And I had to just tell them I was going to figure it out over the weekend. It's the weekend and I still haven't 100% figured out everything that I need to print. But again, it's going to be more organized in the future because I now know what I need, that I need to take it all into my own hands and make sure everyone has all of their stuff. It also is just really chaotic, like classroom management wise. Again, I can't name specifics on this, but it's just, I'm a very soft-spoken person. So it's hard to grab I'm like, even when I yell, I really cannot raise my voice very loud, but it's hard for me to grab the attention of like 60 people in one of my classes who are all talking, all like, this isn't even a fault of them. It's just like when class starts, everyone, you know how it is, everyone comes in, sits down, talks to their neighbors, maybe fiddles around on their instruments a little bit. Literally it's just chaos. Everyone's doing something. So it's just, it builds up. Everyone, like, small, even if everyone was whispering to their neighbors, it would build to a incredible degree. It's just really hard to gather the attention in that sense. And pretty much everything that I planned to do in the beginning, in the first week, fell through. Like, almost everything that I planned to do ended up not going according to plan, which was really hard for me because for those of you who don't know, I will acknowledge I'm an extreme perfectionist. Like, I've been told I'm really hard on myself, like way harder than I should be, and I expect things to be perfect, and they rarely are. So it was a really hard first, like, few days when everything felt like it was going wrong. Like, it messed with my confidence a lot. Like, by the end of the week, I was barely scraping along, like, confidence level wise. And then I will say Friday happened, and Friday everything felt like it went according to plan. And that was the one day that everything actually felt right. And that day felt good, and finally I was able to breathe a little bit. And it was only it was a 4-day week, and it felt like literally a month, like, in my eyes. But I made it through. I've heard the first week is a struggle, whether you're a first-year teacher or not. So I was told not to feel too terrible about how my first week went. But it's hard because, again, I don't want to get too much into specifics because some of the kids might watch this. But I will say, I guess the time's passed anyways, so maybe they don't remember that well anyways. But it's hard in the beginning when everyone, like, the kids expect you to be put together, on top of it, and ready to go. And when I physically cannot be, and I feel unorganized, it eats away at me horribly, because I, again, am a perfectionist, and I like to be really organized when, like, I'm not a very, I've said this in a previous episode, I'm not a very organized person inherently. However, when it comes to, like, it being a detriment to other people, I am extremely on top of it and organized, or at least I try to be. I created a full spreadsheet of all the instruments that are available for rent, and put notes on all of the issues I found with some of them to keep it all organized. I labeled every instrument. I wrote, for those instruments, I wrote down who has them rented out, so I know. Like, stuff like that. Like, I'm really particular about certain things. So when stuff started to go wrong, and it made me feel extremely unorganized, I know that, like, maybe the high schoolers will give me the benefit of the doubt. But, like, when you're talking in terms of, like, junior high and 6th grade kids, it's like, their expectations for me are probably a lot higher than the high schoolers. Not to say that their expectations should be low by any means, but you know what I mean? Like, I'm the adult in the room for the junior, like, for everyone, obviously, but you know what I mean. I'm the adult in the room for the 6th graders and junior high kids, who are, like, between the ages of 12 and 14, I want to say. I am quite a bit older than them, so because of that, they see me as someone who has it together and is well put together, and the fact that it looks like I'm not, and it appears that I'm not because the first week was so unorganized, really sucked for the first couple days. Like, there were a few times, to put it bluntly, I never outright cried, but I was on the verge of tears after a few, like, really bad hours. Not necessarily that kids were bad, because I felt like I was doing them a disservice because I was not as organized as I should have been. And it was chaotic. And then, like I said, Friday came around and everything kind of just settled. And it was really nice. High school, I don't feel as poor about how I've been handling that, because I know I have a bit more leeway with them. Like, sure, maybe later down the line they'll be harsher, like, long term they'll be harsher on me than the junior high kids if I continue to be disorganized. But I think the high schoolers, this is speaking from experience too, because when I was in high school, I had a relatively new teacher. It wasn't his first job, it was his second job, but he was really young, and as high schoolers, we were all saying our first year to give him kind of, like, all together, we were like, okay, we're going to make this year as good for him as we can, and we're going to give him the support he needs, because we understand it's a lot to take in your first year in a job, and the second, no matter what happens the first year, we're going to give him the benefit of the doubt this year. Knowing that that was my like, me being in high school, that was how we talked about our teacher. I feel like I feel like they're going to give me a bit of the benefit of the doubt. Sorry, sometimes when people, like, open and close their doors in this apartment, it sounds like it's coming from, like, my unit, so I was, like, freaked out for a second there. but yeah, high school feels pretty good. The only issue is I started with music that was probably too difficult for them to immediately read right away, and I know how to change that. I'm not going to say it on here because, in case they watch this, I have ideas for how I'm going to adapt and enhance that experience for them. And I know what to do in order to fix it over the coming months throughout the rest of the year. I had to alter a few of my plans and change a few of the pieces I planned on playing, but it's not that big of a deal to me because the more difficult pieces that I had in mind cost more money anyways, so it's not a big detriment. But yeah, overall, it was rough for me in the beginning because it was just so much coming at me. It felt like it just wasn't gonna stop. Like, my first day, I haven't even eaten lunch any of the days that I've been there yet. I've only eaten one meal every day because I just haven't had time. But the first day, I had a lot of prep because I don't have lessons yet. So the time that would be spent for lessons, I just have free right now. I spent every second of that trying to organize everyone's music and getting it all together. But then by the end of the week, I was able to just kind of sit and use that as a moment to kind of breathe a little bit. And it was super nice. And I think this week is going to go a lot better because everyone, well, for the most part, everyone has their music. I kind of know what I need to print to fix the problem of some people who don't have music. I noticed a few kids came in and took their instruments home, so they're going to practice their music, and we're going to come back stronger, and hopefully, because the first week is chaotic in general, I think they're going to be coming back ready to play, and it's going to be great. I just need to have the motto to not be too hard on myself, because that's what's going to drag me. I'm going to drag myself down. Like, it's just mental gymnastics, really, is what it is. But anyways, enough about that. On to the next topic at hand, my cooking. I haven't talked about this on here yet, but I actually really enjoy cooking. It's something that's really satisfying to me. Like, I don't enjoy cooking for myself as much as other people. Like, obviously I have to cook for myself now because no one lives with me. I'm all alone. But, like, whenever I'm given the opportunity to cook for someone, I absolutely love it because I just like impressing people with my cooking because people never expect me to be that good at it. And then they taste what I make and their mind is blown. Not that because it's some like gourmet dish, but because that's not exactly what they like. It's better than they'd expect from me. But I made a homemade pizza for a friend's birthday once, where I made the dough completely homemade, along with the sauce. The tomato sauce was completely homemade, and it was really good. I've also made sushi, which sushi is like, yeah, you have to worry about the rice and stuff, but in reality, you don't cook anything for it. We just bought, like, smoked salmon, so we didn't have to worry about, like, food poisoning type stuff. I bought smoked salmon, shoved it in with a few, like, carrots and bell peppers, and bought sushi rollers and did that with my sister, and that was super fun. Lately at my apartment, I've been making I've made a couple different recipes. The first one was really good. The second one was kind of mid. I made onion stuffed burger, like caramelized onion stuffed burgers, and it was incredible the first time. The second time it wasn't as good, but I used like the same I bought enough ingredients to make two, and I think the ingredients weren't exactly stale, but it was like 3 days later, so it wasn't as fresh, so I think that impacted the flavor a little bit. I also think I overdid the burgers the second day a little bit. I like my burgers done medium, and I think it was more of like a medium well the second day that I had them, but it was still really pretty good. It was just, you make the caramelized onions with brown sugar and balsamic vinegar, and then you put them in the middle of the burger patties that you make, and then you cook the patties, and then you top them with, well, you top them with cheese of your choice, which I bought Swiss cheese from the deli. So that was really good, obviously. And then you top it with extra caramelized onions that you had left over that weren't put inside the burger. And it was really good. I got buns from fresh from the bakery too, so that was also a nice treat. The only thing with buns, it's difficult to like grill as a single person, because when you buy buns, you kind of have to buy like 8. I don't think they sell them in any less than 8. So it's like, then I just kind of use them for sandwiches, which it felt like a little weird because I forgot to buy lunch meat. So I was having like peanut butter sandwiches on buns. I'm actually not a big fan of jelly, so whenever I have like peanut butter, I just have peanut butter with butter. I never put jelly on my sandwiches. It saves money too, which is nice. Maybe I should make homemade jelly. That would be fun. I do have a book, I think, that has a variety of like homemade jelly and jam recipes, but yeah, I really like cooking. It's partly the satisfaction of like having other people eat it. Like, I enjoy eating it myself, but it's more fun getting other people's reactions, and because it's like, for me, I feel like I'm harder on myself than other people might be. So having other people try my cooking and giving me their honest opinions makes me feel pretty good about myself. I've only ever messed up one recipe, and it wasn't even that bad. I made a macaroni and cheese bake, and I accidentally burnt the noodles that were on the bottom, so it was a little crispy and dry, but it still tasted good. So it wasn't like it was an outright disaster. I've also made, there's a channel on YouTube, I don't know if anyone knows it, it's called Jammy Cooks, and he basically like recreates recipes from video games. I made a couple of his Stardew Valley recipes a few times, and those were really good too. I really like being able to follow like a video, because it makes me feel like I know what I'm doing a little better. Now that I have a little more experience with it, I am able to follow like just a read-through guide a lot better, but like there were some times where I didn't know specifically how to do something, so I use like the Tasty YouTube channel, because they show all of the steps. Like, obviously it's sped up, but they show all of the steps in real time to kind of show what you're doing and what the food should look like as well, which is kind of important. Because I probably shouldn't have done this, but early on when I was cooking without a thermometer. So when I was cooking meat, I just kind of had to guess by look if it was done or not. And I'm pretty sure I've eaten undercooked chicken before, but I never got sick from it. So, because now that I have a thermometer, when I cook chicken, it feels like I'm cooking it way longer than I used to. So, I'm pretty sure I was undercooking chicken before, but there was one time, though, I made Asian, it was Kung Pao. It was Kung Pao chicken. And when you cook Asian chicken, you usually like crank the heat like all the way up, so the chicken practically like cooks instantly, and like you have to be really quick at flipping it or it'll burn. I basically smoked out the entire apartment doing that. It wasn't like overdone. It was just because it seared on one side of the chicken, so it was very smoky. But I'm pretty sure I took it off way too quick and the center didn't get done, but my roommate and I ate it and we didn't get sick, so. The one thing I don't mind about eating alone rather than feeding someone else is that I don't have to have as high of a standard for my cooking. Like, I don't have to worry as much about presentation. I can just plop it on a plate and call it good. Other than when I'm trying to get the pose for the Snapchat picture. What else? There was something that was on... Oh, I made... The first time that I had my current girlfriend over, I made her... I can't... Now that I'm thinking about it, I can't remember what I made. Because the first time we met, I either made pumpkin cheese noodles or clam linguine. I can't remember which I made. I think it was the pumpkin noodles that I made first. And it was kind of funny. I can't remember what we were playing. We were playing maybe Pikmin 3 or something, and she was just sitting in the living room, and I was like running all over the place in the kitchen trying to get everything together. Because I don't know, when I cook, I make it like the most fast-paced type. It's like overcooked when I'm cooking, really. There was one time when it was one of the first times I ever cooked. I remember the night before I planned everything out, so I knew when everything had to be happening, because I made 3 dishes at the same time. I made a main course and 2 sides, and I cooked it all by myself. And it was very chaotic. It was basically literally like overcooked. I think that was the time that the noodles got overdone as well. I think that might have been when I made that macaroni and cheese bake. I can't remember for sure, but yeah, that was very chaotic. But the point is, I really, really enjoy cooking. Yesterday, I actually made some sweet potato curry, and I've kind of come to the conclusion that I must just not like curry, because the curry that I made, I compare it to the Disney World curry, because that's my main experience. I never really buy it. I got it off the buffet at Disney World, which probably is, like, sus to begin with. I'm pretty sure the curry is what made me sick, actually. The second day, or was it the second day? It was when we were at Animal Kingdom. I don't remember. But I had chicken curry that day from one of the buffets. It was the Tusker House. And later that day, I almost freaking died in line for the Navi River journey or whatever it is. I felt like I was gonna throw up and pass out all at the same time. It was not fun. And then I had an explosion in the bathroom later. But that's besides the point. I made the sweet potato curry yesterday. I still have leftovers. I made enough to serve for 2 meals. I made enough rice for like 5 meals. I have like 1 tub of just full of leftover rice, and then I have another tub with the curry, like leftover curry in it. So it's like I just every time I make rice, I always underestimate how much it expands. But yeah, the sweet potato curry, it was good, but it was better than any curry that I've had with meat in it. But because the sweet potatoes kind of served as like a neutralizer, which I feel like you kind of need in the curry, like to get away from the curry type flavor. But it was okay. I don't think I'd make it again. Yeah, that's about all there is to say about it. It was good, but I don't know that I'd eat it again. The Patriots are making a comeback, my dad says. That's not good for me. I have Philadelphia's defense. What's happening here? Suddenly I have 8 points. Oh wait, that's someone else's team. Hold on 1 second. Sorry. I was done with the cooking topic anyways. Okay. My fantasy app freezes all the time, and I don't understand why. Oh, they're down to 11 points. Okay. Next topic. Actually, the next topic is football anyways, isn't it? That's right. So that isn't terribly off topic. So the Vikings lost, much to my dismay. Let's talk about that first. It was just a very weird week 1 game. For all of you, this is going to be like 6 weeks behind again. But Buccaneers, Vikings, I predicted that the Vikings would like absolutely decimate the Buccaneers. For one, I heavily underestimated the Buccaneers defense. I forgot how good they are. And that should have... I still probably would have picked Vikings. I don't see any scenario where I would have picked the Buccaneers to win. But I was just surprised. Like, when you look at the stats, it is, like, unbelievable that the Buccaneers ended up winning that game. Because Cousins had about 350 yards passing. Jefferson had, like, 150 yards receiving or something like that. There was a lot of good in the Vikings play, that was offset by a really terrible first quarter. Like, the first quarter was, like, terrible on both sides. But even worse was, like, all of the turnovers. Like, the first fumble where our right guard basically knocked the ball out of Cousins' hands on the snap. Or he didn't even knock it out of his hands, he just kind of, his hand got in the way of the snap, almost. And then the second Cousins fumble, where I think it was Antoine Winfield came just unblocked, screeching towards him, and he didn't see him. I don't think he was aware he was there, because he was kind of, like, Cousins was, like, almost winding up to, throw a deep throw. And I think it just took him aback, and that was how he lost the ball. And then the interception at the end of the half, which was kind of on Osborne, but it could have been thrown a little better by Cousins. It was a little late. He could have thrown it a little earlier, and the interception probably wouldn't have happened. But at the same time, Osborne had it, and then he just got it ripped out of his hands. But yeah, it was just a very weird game. It didn't feel like it was close. Like, it was a 3-point game at the end, but it didn't feel close. It was just weird. I don't know. I do not have high hopes for the Vikings to win against the Eagles this upcoming Thursday, but you never know. This has been a really weird week 1. I'm pretty sure I didn't get the channel, but I'm pretty sure the Browns Bengals game, it was like raining during, and that's partially why the Bengals got destroyed. But at the same time, the Browns were playing in the exact same conditions, and they like beat them by 21 points. I didn't get to watch that game, but that was one like really weird upset. Like, the Bengals not even scoring a single touchdown. I've been watching, like I said, I just stepped away from the TV to start recording this during, like, about at halftime for the Packers-Bears game. And that's been kind of a weird one as well. It's like anyone's game, but they both are not playing spectacular. Like, the first drive, I was, like, terrified, because I was like, uh-oh, the Packers actually look good. But I don't know, it's weird. I had a thought, but I can't remember what it was. They are missing Christian Watson, but I also don't know why they aren't running Jones more, because he was crushing the Bears in the first drive. Again, I turned the game off at halftime to record this, so maybe they have been doing more run plays since then, but I don't know. Jordan Love hasn't looked, like, bad. Not, obviously, to the level of what was before, but he's just looked, like, mid, like, solid C or B tier. And kind of the same from Fields. Fields has had some really good throws, which is a little scary. Again, like, I do think this division could be pretty legit this year. I'll get into the Lions in a second, but, like, I think the division is tougher than we may have thought. I think the Bears and the Packers both are going to be better than I anticipated anyways. Maybe other people had the inside scoop that they were going to be pretty good, but I don't know. And then the Lions beating the Chiefs. It was more the Chiefs beating themselves in a lot of situations. Well, more the Chiefs receiving core being absolute crap. Like, it was literally like everyone was running around with bricks for hands. I saw one post that was like, this is the Chiefs offense right here, and it was like, there was a wide open hole in the middle of the field, with everyone kind of pushed to the right side, and it showed the Chiefs running back running right into the crowd instead of cutting through the hole. And then there's the interception that I think it was Tony is his name caused. Like when you look at the picture of the before and after the interception happened, the ball was placed like right in his hands, and he did not catch it, and it was pretty much that play really settled the game in reality. I didn't watch the end. I heard like speculation, like not speculation, but I heard on social media that it seemed like the refs definitely tried to tilt it in the Chiefs' favor. I don't know. It was getting late. I had to shut it off after the third quarter to go to bed. Yeah. The Lions are going to be a team to beat this year, but I also just don't think the Chiefs played to their full potential. One, without Kelsey, and two, I think they just inherently got quite a bit worse this year. They'll still be probably the top of the division and Super Bowl contender by the end of the year when they get it figured out, but they don't have really any solid veteran receivers. Their rookie looked pretty good, but there's not really any like trustable receivers that they have right now that he knows he can throw to, and it'll be actually completed. What else is going on right now? I have to check some of the scores, actually. I'm gonna go look it up since I have been away from the TV for a while. What's really annoying is you can't... there's a setting that I missed, you can't see the scores in the NFL app anymore without a subscription, which is really, really stupid. Like, I remember when I used to be able to just watch games for free because I had the NFL app, and then they began charging a subscription. Well, no, you used to get every game, I'm pretty sure. You used to be able to watch every game on your phone if you wanted to. Then they started charging for the extra games that aren't televised in your area, but you used to still be able to watch the games that were televised in your area. And that was even as like back to like 2020, because I remember watching a Vikings Seahawks game on my way taking the trash out at Walmart when I worked there. And then they took that away entirely, and now you can't even see like the box score stuff. Like, you can't look at stats or anything without the subscription. Okay, so right now the Broncos are ahead of the Raiders, but not by much. Russ Wilson has 2 touchdowns. It'll be interesting to see how Jeudy actually plays when he comes back. I have both Russ Wilson and Jerry Jeudy. I've drafted Russ Wilson almost every single year, and it's funny because, like, he was my starter back when he was on the Seahawks. I had him last year, and he was supposed to be my, like, main quarterback, and then I ended up getting Tom Brady. I don't know why someone dropped him, but they did. Both of them were kind of mid last year, though. Well, Russ Wilson drifting towards the bottom end of mid, but... Okay, and the Eagles and the Patriots are very close as well, 16-14. That game looked like it was put away in the first quarter. It'd actually be kind of crazy if the Patriots ended up winning that game. The Rams are ahead. Huh. I really expected them to be nothing. Who is Kay Williams? I don't even know who that is. Is it a rookie? See, I should probably know these things. Yeah. Interesting. So those are the ongoing games. Then we look at the games that have... Well, oh, the Packers are up 17-6 now. Ooh. And Dolphins are up 20-17 on the Chargers. The 49ers-Steelers game went about as expected. That was probably the most predictable outcome. I expected the 49ers to absolutely destroy the Steelers. Jaguars-Colts was close for a bit, and the Jaguars really pulled ahead towards the end. I didn't get to watch the game, but from seeing stats, Anthony Richardson played a lot better than I thought he would. The Cardinals almost won that game when they were really not expected to. However, the Commanders are kind of in a similar situation to them where they don't really have a lot going for them this year. Falcons-Panthers, I can't remember who I thought was going to win that game, but those were both like big question marks in my mind, like who was going to be better this year. And I don't know. It doesn't help DJ Chark was out this week. I don't know who the number one receiver even is, if he is for the Panthers or not, but I don't know. That probably didn't help. The Ravens, Lamar Jackson did not look very good towards the beginning of that game. And maybe he didn't at all. I'm going solely based on fantasy points, which sounds like a really stupid thing to do. But the fact that he only had 6 fantasy points tells me that he didn't do a whole lot that game. I don't know. I think it was a rookie running back that he ended up with like 2 touchdowns or something. I don't know. I don't know if he was a rookie or not. But yeah, that's pretty much everything that went down this week. Bijan Robinson looks really good, like expected. Oh, the Chargers look like they're about to score and pull ahead. I'm actually excited for the Cowboys-Giants game tonight. I think that'll be a fun one. I'm really hoping Darren Waller plays because he's on my fantasy team, and literally my only other tight end option I had was Taysom Hill because I didn't know that Waller was injured, and I figured I'd only have to play Taysom Hill 1 week out of the year, but it looks like he might be stuck in for more. But anyways, talking about Nintendo console, I'm going to pause my recording quick so there's going to be an awkward cut. I have to get my bottle of water or something. Okay, my throat was getting really dry. I have a bottle of water now, so I'm good. So Nintendo. Awkward silence while I take a drink out of my water bottle. It is heavily rumored that there is a Nintendo Direct this week. This is the week of the it's Sunday, September 10th right now when I'm recording this. It's heavily rumored there's going to be a Nintendo Direct on Wednesday or Thursday, like a general Direct. It has not been confirmed yet, but like really credible sources and multiple sources are saying that it is going to be happening this week. And with it comes more and more rumors of the next Nintendo console. Now, I agree with a lot of people. I do not think they are going to announce it during this September Direct because it would slow down all the steam for the Switch for the holiday of this year. I think this is going to be the last big... It feels like this is going to be the last big holiday for the Switch. Like, they've got Super Mario Wonder. They have Mario RPG. The 2 Pokemon DLCs. I feel like there's more. There's Sonic, but that's not an exclusive. WarioWare. The point being, there's a lot coming out for the Switch this holiday, along with a couple, likely, I would say probably spring releases for next year. The Peach game might be more of a summer thing. They didn't show a lot of it, so it's hard to know how far along it is in development, but I'd say probably spring, maybe early summer. And then the Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon is going to probably be a remake, unless they end up turning it into a collection, like I said I wanted to, like a dual pack with 1 and 2. But past that, we have nothing other than Metroid Prime 4, which I am starting to believe Metroid Prime 4 is going to get pushed and be kind of like the Twilight Princess Breath of the Wild type deal, where it's on both. That's kind of what happened to Pikmin 3 as well. Pikmin 3 didn't end up being on both consoles, but Pikmin 3 got pushed back heavily because it was originally going to be on the Wii, and then they had to they had to change everything because then it had to be pushed to the Wii U. I think the same sort of thing is happening with Metroid Prime 4, and that's also why we haven't seen anything. They also are probably going to be really careful with when they show. Like, I would guess almost that we are probably going to see the first footage of Metroid Prime 4 like within 5 or 6 months of release. Like, it will probably almost be ready when because they're probably afraid of delaying it again or something happening with it. What is rumored for this direct is, I know I said that I was specifically going to talk about the next console, but I want to talk about a couple of my hopes for not just like a potential direct, but just for the rest of the Switch lifespan in general. It's heavily rumored there's a Donkey Kong game, and it has been for a while. I think Donkey Kong would fully complete the Switch for me as being my favorite console ever released. It's probably, like, because although I am concerned because the Donkey Kong that is rumored to be released is rumored to be Nintendo made rather than Retro Studios, which even though Donkey Kong is Nintendo, I don't trust Nintendo themselves to make a quality Donkey Kong like game, because the ones with the good track record on making Donkey Kong games are Rare and Retro Studios. The other one, I haven't played the other one, so I can't say like for sure my opinions on them, but from what I've seen, they seem pretty mid. So I'm concerned that if Nintendo is going to fully take the reins in the next Donkey Kong game, it's going to be like another easy game. I mean, I guess Super Mario Wonder gives me hope that there is innovation left in Nintendo with 2D platformers. But Donkey Kong Country games are known for being difficult, and I don't know that if it's going to be published by Nintendo, maybe it won't be a Donkey Kong Country game, but you know what I mean. I just like to look for difficulty and creative level design when it comes to my Donkey Kong games. That's why I think Donkey Kong Country is the best 2D platformer series of all time. But Super Mario Wonder looks really good, and it looks like it might actually be able to compete for that. So who knows? But Donkey Kong would really round out the Switch, I think, and make it really probably the best console. Like, you'd be hard pressed to find an argument for it to not be the best console of all time, other than maybe the PS2. But I don't know. It's hard because now the Switch has Final Fantasy, the Switch has Pikmin, it has Xenoblade, it has Zelda, Mario, Pokemon, Fire Emblem, The Witcher. It has just a bunch of, like, now it has Red Dead too, actually. So it's just the crazy amount of games, and Spyro and Crash. It just has a crazy amount of content on it that I think a new Donkey Kong game would just truly round it out. And it's rumored that they're going to put an F-Zero game on it too. Like, it's rumored that an F-Zero either remake or new game is coming to the Switch and is going to be announced in this next Nintendo Direct. That's not confirmed yet, But again, that would be actually insane. What I hope for the next console. I've alluded to this before, but I do not want a Switch 2. I think a Switch 2 would be a massive mistake on Nintendo's part, and I really hope that is not what we end up with. Yeah. Because they made the same sort of mistake with the Wii U. Every console has been, from Nintendo, has been pretty greatly, like, drastically different from the last. Like, I would say almost the closest comparison is the NES and the SNES. Because, like, nothing really changed much then, other than processing power. But there still is a pretty big difference there just in processing power alone. Like, there's a major difference between games on the SNES and games on the NES. But then you get the N64, the first, like, 3D home console. And then you get upgraded to the GameCube, which again, the GameCube was a little bit... I guess the most different thing about the GameCube is the fact the controller has 2 sticks, and some of the games had online capabilities, but those were few and far between. Then next you had the Wii, which invented the whole idea of motion controls. I mean, didn't invent it, but it really popularized it. And then the Wii U, which, because it was basically a sequel to the Wii, where they kept almost everything the same except upgrading the Wii and giving it a gamepad controller, people got confused and the marketing was not good, so people didn't realize it wasn't just a... Like, because there were so many add-ons to the Wii, some people thought that it was just another add-on that was like, you didn't need it. Like, it's like, why would I buy a $300 add-on for my Wii when my Wii is perfectly fine? I don't need it. And the exclusives were very slow to come out for the Wii U as well. I'm guessing that Nintendo's planning ahead a lot better with this next console. There's probably launch titles in the works, maybe, as we speak. So they have a plan for what's going to launch on it. It's rumored Metroid Prime 4 is going to be a launch title for the new system. That would be nice. But I don't know, I just do not hope for a Switch 2, necessarily. I really like the hybrid system, but I just don't think a Switch 2 is the way to go. Like, Nintendo's always been more innovative than that. They like to change things up with every console. And I think a Switch 2 would be a massive detriment. And it would go about the same way the Wii U did. Although maybe a little better, because now they know they could probably market it differently and it would be fine. Like, it's like, oh, the Switch, but now in 4K. But I don't know. They already did the new 3DS, and then the new 3DS barely had any exclusives for it. I don't know. I just want something different and new. I don't know. Like I keep saying, I really do like the handheld aspect of it, because it's a really powerful system as a handheld. Like, it's like, I can play Pikmin on the go now, which would never have been possible before. I can play massive games like Xenoblade Chronicles 3 in the car, Xenoblade Chronicles 2. I can play open world Pokemon games, Scarlet and Violet and Legends Arceus, Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom. You can play it all on the go. It's crazy cool. But I think it hinders the system from reaching its full potential, so maybe they go back to full home console. I don't know. I'd be torn on that. But at the same time, now that I'm an adult, I would say that I would prefer probably a more powerful home console than them focusing, like, buying into the hybrid idea and thus having a less powerful system, because they need to be able to fit it fit the hardware itself in a smaller mechanism so that it can be taken on the go. I don't know. It's a hard choice as to what I would actually prefer. It's hard to consider. Sorry, I got an email from... I was trying to potentially sell a board game online, and these people are emailing me back now. Of course, now of all times. But, like, as an adult, I am not going to have a lot of downtime where I necessarily need to take my handheld system somewhere else to play it, because I'm never really going to be riding in a car anymore. I'm going to be driving mostly. Maybe I'll take a flight or two, but I don't see any situation where I personally would rather have a handheld than a full home console. And on top of it, it's not like the Switch is going to go away. The Switch will still exist. It's just that they won't be making any new games for it. I think the Switch has plenty of games to where that wouldn't be a big issue if they skipped out on the hybrid thing in the next generation. The one thing I'm concerned, like, I really hope that... Well, this was a stupid thought. I don't know why I even was thinking to bring it up. The whole Nintendo Online thing. Because on the Switch, you don't own the classic games, the NES, SNES, and N64, Game Boy. So, so on and so forth. You don't own them, so I'm concerned about how long that's actually going to last and how long they're going to keep that server up and running. I'm hoping that it continues, like, into the next system, so that then it's like, you can play these games on your Switch, but you can also play them on the new system. But I don't know. I just don't like stuff like that where it's like there's going to be an end to it. Like, it's like, eventually I will not be able to play N64 games on my Switch anymore because the service is going to be canceled. It probably will be pretty far in the future, but you think about, they turned off the Wii U services about 5 years after the Switch came out. It was like 5.5. Actually, like 5.25. Well, no, it was like 5.5. Like, if we're talking about that now, it would be like 2030 when you can no longer play those games, which is pretty far out. But it's like when you put a time limit on it, I don't know, I don't like it. I'm hardcore rambling this episode, but I was disappointed with the length of the last episode, so I'm trying to keep things a little more vague and open-ended this time. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts. Maybe by this time there will be a system successor announced. I doubt it, though. I'm pretty positive if they announce anything, it'll probably be either in the first Direct next year, like the February, March-ish time. Well, they've done one in January before. Like that early first quarter of the year Direct. I think they either announce it there or they announce it at E3. I have always been annoyed by the people who keep jumping on the hype train for a new Nintendo system, because it's like they have shown very minimal signs that it's coming anytime soon. Like, people have been guessing that it would come out, like, quote, this year for like a year or two now. Even more than that, maybe. But, like, they have not shown any like, they have not given us any reason to believe it's coming anytime soon. And it's just, it has really annoyed me. But now thinking, like, at the time period we're at now, we're at about 6 and a half years into the Switch life cycle. Maybe like 5.5 in reality because you take off the COVID year. But I don't know. I think it's for sure by 2025 there will be a new Switch, or a new, not a new Switch, a new Nintendo system. But the fact that people have just been acting like it's imminent for a couple of years now has been, like, really obnoxious, in my opinion. But I don't know. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. The final topic. D23 2023. I am going to look up and see if there were any crazy new announcements, because I follow, like, since I don't have Twitter, it's harder for things to come up. Like, I don't see news as early as I used to. I don't think they've announced much today. I'm just checking to make sure. D23 announcements. Yeah, there's pretty much nothing here. Okay. So I'll talk about yesterday's. A lot of people were really disappointed in the Disney Parks portion of D23. Which maybe I don't fully understand, because this is the first time I've actually watched it live or been generally invested in it. I never really cared before and never really paid that much attention. But it felt like we got a lot of announcements. The one thing that people were upset about, and I kind of get, is that it was very, like, not concrete announcements. Like, it was like, this is happening sometime, and it'll probably be like 2030 when it's done or something like that. But I don't know. There were people who were legitimately, like, pissed at some of the announcements, like, just the announcements in general. Like, there were people, for one, the Country Bears, there were people who were angry because well, I know it's been a long, I've kind of gotten into why people are, like, despising all of the Disney World changes and stuff like that, and it's mainly to do with them adding IPs to everything, where before it was more about the innovation of the parks and focusing on something, like, creating something outside, that's outside of the Disney IPs that's still enjoyable and creative. And people don't like them inserting IPs into other, like, focusing too much on IPs rather than creativity, I guess. Where I guess the new Country Bear add-on is that in a nutshell. Because for those who didn't watch it, they're adding Disney songs to the Country Bears repertoire of music. From what I understood, they are not taking away, like, from the way I heard it and the way they worded it, people were confused on this, and I'm like 90% sure that they acted like they are adding these to the old music. They are not taking anything away. They are only adding new songs to what is already there. So I don't understand why people are so upset about it. Because, like, I could see it if they were completely overhauling the attraction and taking the original songs out. But I don't think that's the case. They made it sound like they're adding these Disney songs to the song list while still keeping the old ones in there. I've never been to see the Country Bears, so I can't speak too much on it. I'm not passionate about it whatsoever. But that was one that some people were livid about. One thing that's super nice is that Test Track is getting another upgrade, or update, because this one, people didn't, the second iteration, people didn't seem to think was an upgrade. From what I've gathered through Disney World, like looking at Disney World history, and people who are a little older than me that remember, like, the more of the original vision, the idea with Epcot was that companies outside of Disney would sponsor all of the attractions, and they would continue to renew their sponsorship, and in turn fund their own upgrades and changes to the attraction. Like, for example, well, Test Track, which we'll talk about in a minute, sponsored by General Motors. The Imagination Pavilion used to be sponsored by Kodak, I think? But they dropped their sponsorship because they are kind of broke. But that's why it's harder for them to upgrade a ride like, or update a ride like Journey into Imagination with Figment, which people have been clamoring for a while. It's because they simply can't get the funds within themselves to upgrade the ride, whereas Test Track is being updated again for the third time because General Motors is still funding that pavilion. And what's cool is the way they didn't really give a lot of information, but the way they worded it is that it's going to pay homage to the original World of Motion ride, which is super cool. I don't really remember a lot. I don't remember enough about the first version of Test Track to really remember how it's different. Like, I don't remember that much about it, like, how it changed. The first time I rode on it, I was 12, and that would have been, like, the last run of its original version, because I went on it in February of 2012, and I believe it was changed in April of 2012. And then the last time I went on it was way back in 2017, when I went with my marching band in high school. And then it was obviously changed. I haven't been on it since then because the lines are always ridiculously long. Even that time we went in we bypassed it by going in the single riders line. And they put us, well, I was in a group of 4. They put the 3 guys in front of me together anyways, even though they were in the single riders line. And then they just put me alone with a random group, which is the way it should, the way I always thought it would work, is they'd pull, like, a pair out of the regular line, and then they pull 1 from the single riders, but they just pulled 3 from the single riders and then threw me with a group of 2. Like, that didn't make much sense to me, but whatever. But yeah, people seem to generally be pretty excited about that announcement, because that one is a little more concrete. Like, they didn't give a start, like a closing date for Ow. I think I inhaled like a fly or something. Oh my god. Something went down my throat. Oh, what was I saying? They haven't announced like an official closing date for Test Track, so it's like we don't really know when it's gonna happen, but I'm guessing it'll be pretty swift. Like, it'll be a pretty quick turnaround, but you never know. Tron took a while. The other couple of things that they announced, which now thinking about it, I kind of get why people are a little upset, because they announced that they will for sure be expanding Magic Kingdom, but they didn't say what, and they didn't say when. They just said it is planned. So, it's just a lot of non-concrete stuff. Like, they just felt like they had to go out there and give the people something. I don't know. I'm excited for it still. And then they announced that they're updating what I would assume is going to be, like, it's an upgrade to Tortuga Tavern to change it to be more Pirates of the Caribbean specific, which is cool. And then, well, they announced that the Moana walkthrough attraction will be open, I think October 16th or something like that. And I don't know why people are so freaking, like they are just trashing this thing before even, like, walking through it. Like, again, yes, they inserted an IP into something, but they tried to be creative with it. Like, it's more of a, like, learning walkthrough experience, like a learning experience. That, from what I've seen, it seems to be more focused on the, like, science type stuff, which is what Epcot is about, than being Moana. Like, yes, there's a Moana character meet and greet in there, but, and obviously the rock formations and everything is Moana themed. But I don't know, I think it's a cool way to get kids interested in it and actually invested. Like, maybe you could argue that kids today are bored too easily, but my brother thinks Epcot's lame because there's, like, nothing to do in there. Like, he thinks it's the lamest park, other than maybe Animal Kingdom, because, like, there's just nothing that he's really interested in. And granted, he's kind of at that, like, kind of middle age. He's 12. He's in kind of that middle age where it's like, he's not really interested in the science stuff because he's too young, and he's not really interested in the IP stuff because he's too old. But at the same time, I think that says a lot about Epcot as a whole. Like, I don't think it all has to be about, like, I don't know. I really don't know how to put it. Like, I don't think it all has to be fully scientifically based. Like, I think it's totally fine to have, because most of that park is not IP based anyways. Like, as it is, like, you could argue that maybe them inserting one more is one too many, but it's like, you got Finding Nemo, Three Caballeros, Frozen. Frozen is the big one. Maybe that's why people are rubbed the wrong way, because Frozen was really controversial. Ratatouille. Is that it? That might be it. I feel like I'm missing some, other than Moana. But I don't know. I think it's cool, and from what I've seen, the attraction actually looks pretty fun and pretty cool. I don't know. Maybe I just have to experience it. I just feel like so many people, and this is a general statement, this is nothing to do with, like, Disney World fans specifically, but I feel like so many people just waste so much energy being negative about things rather than simply enjoying things. Like, and then you get people online who are like, who act like that's an insult to say that, oh, you would enjoy anything. You'll just take whatever and consume it. And it's like, yeah, I'm spending my money, yes, but I myself am having a good time, so what does it matter to you? Like, you can call me a consumer all you want, but I'll go through the Moana attraction and I'll enjoy it. It doesn't affect you any. I guess you could argue that it does, because then it shows Disney that people do like those types of attractions, but I just think so many people would have a much more pleasant experience in life if they would simply kick back and enjoy stuff instead of feeling the need to be critical about everything. Okay, the last part of the... Well, there was also... Like, the Epcot construction as a whole is being finished in December, which is really nice to not have to deal with the walls anymore. People were already trashing the fireworks show before it even started, too. Like, complaining that Luminous is such an uncreative name because before it was Harmonious, and... yeah, whatever. It's the same idea, yes, but... I don't know. Maybe it's dumb, maybe it's a dumb name, but I don't think that's a valid reason to already trash the fireworks show before it even started. And then people already trashing the Figment meet and greet when they literally just showed the character walking on the stage. They were like, why does he look so weird? It's like, all of the Disney World characters look a little uncanny. I don't think a Disney adult needs to be criticizing Figment because, oh, his head's too small for his body and whatever. Like, you make the goddamn costume, then, woman. I can think of a few people that I watched, like, their reaction/review of the D23 panel that were just bitching and moaning the entire time, complaining about this and that, and complaining about the smallest things. It's like, if you're gonna complain that hard about a meet and greet character that is mainly catered to children, then maybe this isn't the place you want to plan your vacation. But I don't know. Then the final thing, the final big thing that I remember, Animal Kingdom. The Animal Kingdom, for one, changing It's Tough to Be a Bug to Zootopia. Thematically, you could argue it doesn't make sense to have a bunch of animals under a tree or whatever, whereas Bugs, it did make a little sense. But Bugs Life is very outdated, so I think it makes sense to change the ride, or change that attraction. I wouldn't call it a ride. I think it makes sense, and I don't mind it being Zootopia. Changing the Dinoland USA area of the park makes a lot of sense to me. Like, some people complained about that inherently, like that they shouldn't get rid of that because it was an original land in the park. And it's like, yes, but that area is freaking barren all the time. There is never anyone there. Like, that is the least crowded area of the park. There's never anyone there. I see the people who, like, the cast members that are running, like, the carnival games or whatever, or, like, the fair games, look bored, dying of heat, bored out of their minds. Like, they get, like, maybe 1 or 2 customers every hour. Maybe that's an exaggeration, but I don't know. I don't think it is. And that area of the park is just barren, especially now that Primeval World is gone. It makes sense to change it, first of all. Second of all, people were complaining because, again, they're changing it to something that has to do with IP. However, what I read it as, or what I heard it as, is they are changing Dinoland USA to a South American themed area, South/Central America, the tropics, if you will, themed area, with an Encanto attraction. And I think that works perfectly. I am really excited. Like, this was the announcement that I was most excited about, is that they're changing Dinoland USA to be something else. And I think having it be South American with an Encanto attraction makes total sense. And I really like that idea. People were complaining because they think it's an Encanto land. Probably because when they originally brought up the idea of changing Dinoland USA in their Blue Sky segment last year, they were talking about changing it to a Moana world and the dinosaur area to a Zootopia world. I think they were kind of confusing the two ideas. To me, it seems like they're changing it to South America, like Central, Tropic America, whatever. To that with an Encanto section to it. And maybe there will be South American animals there too, which would be super cool, like having more exhibits over there. I actually think viewing the animals at least in my family personally, viewing the animals at Animal Kingdom is very underrated. I actually really enjoy that aspect. It might be because I haven't been to a zoo in a while. Like, my parents always called it a glorified, like, Animal Kingdom, they said it was basically a glorified zoo. But I actually really like it. I think it's peaceful to walk around the animal areas of that park, and I really like it. And then they're changing the back area of the dinosaur, like where the dinosaur ride is, to be Indiana Jones themed, which is super cool. They didn't really say if it's going to be like the one in Disneyland or if it's going to be something completely new. I don't think they specified. But either way, I think it's a good idea because, yes, Dinosaur is a classic. I've been on it once, and I was not a big fan of it just because it just I know the point is that it jostles you a bunch, but it's like, it's a bit extreme in the amount that it like jostles you, and it just feels like a very dated attraction. So kind of like Splash Mountain, but to even more of a degree. I think a retheme makes sense. Even if they're tearing it down and adding a new ride, I think changing it completely makes sense to me. I don't know. I don't get what people are so up in arms about and why everyone, like, I do get the mindset of wanting to criticize Disney World because they've been making quite a few bad decisions over the past bit. Like, the whole Genie Plus thing is a ripoff. The prices have only continued to go up and up and up into the stratosphere. They took away... There basically is no incentive to stay on Disney property unless... Like, other than getting the... Like, there is something to be said about getting the experience of staying in a Disney hotel because they are very high quality. For the most part. Most of them are very high quality. It's like they transport you to the world that they represent. But in terms of actual value and getting something out of it, you don't get anything extra for staying at a resort that is not a deluxe resort anymore, which is really lame. So I get criticizing decisions like that, but then it feels like that warranted criticism bleeds into criticism of everything else that they do, where it seems like they can't do anything right and everything they do is inherently wrong, where, I don't know, maybe I'm just a more positive outlook type person, but I'm excited for the changes. The one thing I will agree with in terms of people, like, complaints people had, is the fact that everything they announced had no definitive time frame other than them confirming the wrap-up of the Epcot construction. That was confirmed to be finishing by the end of this year. They did not confirm any other dates. They just threw ideas at the wall and basically stood and waited for applause, pretty much. Kind of like a Bethesda press conference. But, I don't know. Some people were saying it does give the idea that the parks are not being very well funded anymore, like inside of Disney, because the test track idea seems pretty far along, but that's because General Motors is funding it. It seems like Disney is not getting a lot of funding within itself towards its parks, and it's setting a lot of stuff back. Because when they put, like, they won't even break ground on anything, like any of these ideas, probably for another, like, 2 years at least. And when they do, we all know how long Tron took. Granted, COVID was in the middle of that. But, like, if they're going to construct an entire land in Magic Kingdom, for example, that could take upwards to, like, 5 to 8 years when they break ground. So we're talking like 10 years from now. But anyways, I think that's going to do it for this episode. I hope you all have a wonderful week, and I will catch you back here for more next week. Thank you all. Peace out.